All right, well, this video we're going to be going backwards. So, hi, my name is Dan Reeses, and this segment is going to be the first segment. Then you're going to watch the next segment that I filmed this morning, and then you're going to watch the segment that I filmed when I was really, really upset. And I'm very, very close to the camera. And one thing I want to remind everyone is that my name is Dan Reeses. I am the CEO of Pierce Bainbridge. Technically, I own 50% of the law firm, but only in the state of California. Let's see what else is there. Oh, I was the one that flew down, risked my life, and exposed Lynn Wood and the rest of the QAnon crew for being responsible for trying to run every single Capitol riot in every single state. And they were suppressed to only one. And luckily, very few people were hurt or injured, and all of that is in the past. But that was done by a group called QAnon, led by a man named Lynn Wood. Next, let's see what else is there. Now, if this is not enough salacious information for you, because please remember, we live in a world of lies. If the truth was ever publicly disclosed, just one of the two things I said should be on the front page. The work that I did as CEO of Pierce Bainbridge, believe it or not, Lynn Wood was actually involved in that as well. This motherfucker. And my work, oh yeah, that's right. My work and the rest of the team's work directly led to the ending of the Black Lives Matter riots, which means essentially that I, Daniel M. Reeses, along with my team, are responsible for the largest period of nonviolence regarding race-related matters in the history of the United States. Now, if you don't find that to be really cool, that's cool. I got one more for you. Oh, wait. Then there's Senator Bob Menendez. You see, Senator Bob Menendez was actually, his house was raided in June of 2022. But because he is Senator Bob Menendez and he has so many friends in prosecution, he wasn't even going to be brought up on charges. The truth is that that case was about to be swept under the rug and written off as a misunderstanding until I, Daniel M. Reeses, went undercover and went into Fred Davies' house. This is a true story. Look it up. Fred Davies, for anyone that doesn't know, he owns Mariners Bank, very wealthy man, extremely corrupt, works with the Middle East, and was the one that was instrumental in giving gold bars to Senator Bob Menendez so he can make sure that Fred Davies and the felony that he got in 2018 were never exposed. Believe it or not, amongst all of that insanity, they ended up fucking me so bad because I was owed tens of millions of dollars through inappropriate illegal action that was taken against me, and I was in the process of, quote, fixing it. But in reality, we all know what Fred Davies was going to do. You see, one of the more interesting things about Fred Davies is he loves to play poker. And so do him and his friends. And for anyone who doesn't know, the most interesting thing about poker is that the people who play it claim so much skill. But in reality, it's luck. The betting part of it, and perhaps some other factors such as communication, awareness, and following statistical rules, that is what separates the pros from the amateurs. But I am not a poker player. I never claimed to be. I mean, I've used it as an excuse of why I have so much money, but that wasn't the case. But these gentlemen, they pretend to be these masterclass poker players, and they thought I was bluffing, and I wasn't. I'm a federal agent who was doing his job to make sure that the people that are responsible for the largest corruption scandal in U.S. history were brought to justice. I mean, granted, I was hoping that my financial issues would be resolved at the same time, but clearly they opted to simply rob me, like everyone else. Now, let's see. That's 4 national narratives. Now, if you're following so far, a human being, if he does one of the 4 that I've just mentioned, they can just end the rest of their lives with a smile on their face, knowing that their grandkids will talk about them. For me, my children abuse me because my wife has taught them to. That's what happens when you save the country in reality. In the movies, maybe there's some like Spider-Man derivative or something along the lines where there's some happy rainbow at the end. But that's not what happens in reality. In reality, a human being is tortured until they either, lose their mind or just say, you know what, fine, whatever you guys want to say, that's true. I'm not going to do that. The reason for that is because I really want to tell everyone one of my proudest moments, and that's exposing H&R Block for two very, very, very inappropriate actions. And please remember that I am not in law enforcement. I am a human being that was called into action when law enforcement is kind of a part of the problem. So there's something called an express IRA, which was offered by H&R Block. The reason why the express IRA is so bad is because 85% of customers spend more in fees than they receive in interest. That's illegal. When I was on site in 2005, 2006, I discovered a lot of things, including this. I was specifically brought there to work on a project for my company, Pixis Solutions, but I always do a few things at the same time. So when I was there, before I used to talk about stories of uncovering and fixing. That is true. I did. That is the H&R Block Rapid Refund Program, which was eliminated a few years after I did my job, because we were able to get the data to show that the entire concept of the rapid refund, and this is where I'm really proud of, is because I found the solution. You see, the entire rapid refund program stemmed from an archaic time when the IRS would guarantee the deposits because we didn't live in a digital world, so they couldn't instantly do the thing that they wanted to do, which is just give the people their money back right away. Now when you e-file, that is not the case, which is why the rapid refund program essentially is nothing more than fully obsolete, but not because it was made illegal. It's just the IRS. My idea was, listen, I looked at the actual application. My quote job there was I ran an appointment manager project. That's like my MO. I did it for H&R Block. I did it for ADP. I did it for all these clowns. Notice it's all payroll. It's all taxes. Yeah, I'm a moron, I know. So when it comes to the appointment manager, the interesting part about H&R Block is it's a retail brand. So the retail brand features two outlets or inputs. One was a corporate store, which are 50% of the stores of H&R Block are owned by the H&R Block Corporation, named after Henry and Dick Blakowski, the two accountant brothers from Kansas City, Missouri. Now, these two gentlemen, Jews, obviously, ta-da, surprise, surprise. These two gentlemen died a long time ago, and they just have one of those billion-dollar corporations that runs itself. Now, this company is something that I saw as something, it could be really good. They offer tax advice and services under a unified brand to the lower 1/3 of the American economic people community. People who produce income, the lower 1/3 tend to go to three tax services: H&R Block, Jackson Hewitt, and the third derivative, Liberty Tax Service, which was actually started by either Hewitt or Jackson, one of those two. And one of the more fascinating parts of this whole thing is that in order for you to understand what applied mathematics is, you have to pay attention for a second. So pay attention. When I was on site and I was dealing with the rapid refund program, which I obviously found a solution for, I noticed that the Express IRA was the core issue of what will bring down this country and cause mass rioting when the lower 1/3 realize that they're really being fucked. And for anyone who thinks that like rich people get richer and poor people get poorer, well, you're obviously right, and you're not listening to what I'm saying, where I'm telling you that I not only had facts and data behind the fact that H&R Block is robbing the poorest, hardest working Americans, but I am the human being that actually fixed this issue by expressly stating that if you have a dual problem equation, you need to reverse it and see it as a dual solution. So the dual solution that I saw was for the rapid refund program, if you take the core, like where's the stem of the issue? The stem of the issue is that there's a paradox within the IRS. The IRS should immediately give their customers their money back since it's held in a treasury. And being that we live in a digital world, no one needs to wait for a check to come in the mail after all the things were processed. So I just simply I advised the federal government to have the IRS update their standards. And in 2010, the rapid refund program couldn't really exist anymore because everyone could just get their money. So the issue is that H&R Block would let's say you're getting $1,000 back, H&R Block will be like, oh, we'll give you $700 back today. Well, someone who needs money is going to take the $700, and they're not realizing that the delta or the adverse ratio of $300 that they spend over the $700 that they received is close to 40% of the aggregate sum, which you're basically paying a usurious rate to borrow your own money that's guaranteed. Furthermore, what's even worse than that is that H&R Block would not pocket the dividend. They would then lend it out to other institutions so they don't have to record it on their books. Whether or not that's legal or not, you could take it up with whoever you want, but $1 billion corporation that's able to literally print money because it's a part of the US government's program should not be able to take advantage of the customers on top of that. Had it just been a regular advanced program, I think that it would be acceptable. But the greed of the corporate algorithm that called for more and more profit destroyed it. Then we move on to the Express IRA, which I couldn't find a solution for, because when a human being is expressly told that they're going to pay more money in fees and dividends than they receive in dividends, and they still opt to do it, there's nothing you could really do about it. So in 2008 or so, Elliot Spitzer, based on my recommendation, he's a governor of New York. I'm a New York boy, Jersey, but whatever, it doesn't matter. And he filed this litigation. I was already done by 2006, so it takes in bureaucracy, it takes a long time. But also remember that Elliot Spitzer is not a hero of the people. He took this case on because he was getting ready for the platform to run for president. And as a president, you need to be able to have a whole pedigree of good deeds that you do. So obviously when I expressed to my superiors or whoever I work with, whatever, like, hey, this is what's going on, that case was fast-tracked to the most prominent, he was basically trying to be like Harvey Dent at the time, like a white-collar Harvey Dent. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but he ended up getting caught with a hooker in bed. And what's the craziest part of this story, which you will not believe, and I almost had not a heart attack, but I couldn't believe it. You will never believe that the hooker that Elliot Spitzer was caught in bed with worked for an escort service that was owned by the dad of my boss from Pixis. That's how close I was to the case. His name is Mark Brenner. You could Google him. It's called the Emperor's Club. It was a fucking crazy famous story. So the guy who is my boss, who sends me off to Kansas City to do this undercover project, which I then revealed to Elliot Spitzer's office via a few surrogates, his dad was running the hooker that Elliot Spitzer was caught with. That's not 6 degrees of separation. That's 0 degrees of separation. That's literally, I see this guy in the office all the time. He was like this diminutive Israeli dude. But honestly, if there ever was a pimp, that's what Mark Brenner was. The man's a pimp. Not only that. Mark Brenner was such a pimp. My boss, I want to say I was like 22 at the time. Maybe 20, no, I was 23. At the time, my boss, I want to say was about 40, maybe 44 at most. 40, maybe 44, I say that again. Let's say he's 40. That means his dad's 65. Maybe 60 if he's a real wild man. The guy's girlfriend was 25. And she, on her back, had a tattoo that says Mark's property. The guy was shorter than me. I'm short. He was like 5'6", balding hair with hair plugs. I have no fucking clue I don't know if this guy was hung like a horse or maybe he just hypnotized these women, but the entire story should have been, I think there might have been a movie made about him. And honestly, if Danny DeVito doesn't play this guy, I mean, he was skinnier than Danny DeVito, but the fact, I'm going to repeat it again. I ran the H&R Block project in Kansas. That's how I got into, by the way, that's how I got into barbecue, is that I have so much energy that I wouldn't sleep at night. So I learned and I became obsessed with barbecue. And about 15 years later, I got my first smokers, and it's been an interesting. I could do a completely separate video about that, but when it comes to the reality of how much good, for example, let's say that you're a family of four and you did not lose your house because you did not invest in H&R Block's Express IRA, and you did not continuously lose your double incomes to 20, 30%, your tax returns. And what if that amount is what you just needed to survive, get your kids into school, and let them become very wealthy attorneys, and now the whole family is living well? Well, they're not. I'm never going to get thanked. There's no one that says thank you for what I do. Don't you understand? I take the blame for everything, and everyone keeps shitting on me. I have saved this country, in my personal opinion, if you give me a chance to calculate everything, in the high 20s, maybe 25 to 27. I exaggerate a little bit, let's say 24. If a human being does it once, they have multiple movies and books written about them. I just want you to know. I have to read about some random fucking lifeguard that saved a few human beings' lives. I want to tell everyone something. That's his fucking job. He's a lifeguard. It's in the title, lifeguard. The fact that we are heralding a lifeguard means think about how many other shitty lifeguards did nothing. We're busy getting laid in the shack while some kid drowned. Look, let me tell you something. The standard for the American worker is so fucking low that you guys are celebrating a lifeguard doing his job because he was young. You know who was a young lifeguard? Me. You know who would have dove into the ocean if I had a chance? Me. You know who wouldn't get shit? Me. I have done things that are on a meteoric level to save human beings' lives, livelihoods, stop riots, end turmoil, stop wars, negotiate peace treaties. You have no idea of the amount of work that I have done and I continue to do. For example, you got Vladimir Putin talking about September. I wonder what else is going on in September. Let me explain to everyone something very carefully. My name is Daniel M. Rhesus. I don't have any delusional paranoias. I don't have schizophrenia. I do not believe in some sort of a narcissistic perspective where the world rotates around me. But please, explain to me one very simple thing. How the fuck do you get this many coincidences? And for example, this year, I am a triple Leo. I am watching an episode of Rick and Morty's spinoff called The American President or something, with Keith David, who's brilliant. I'm watching it, and all of a sudden, the character just yells out, "I'm a triple Leo." And that's fine. There's nothing crazy about that. But the fact that there is zero explanation and an endless stream of things that directly coincide with my life, like, how on earth are you going to explain to me that I was born on Thursday? I know that my entire life, the calendar said Thursday, August 13th. Right now, I see it as Friday the 13th. I've stated to many people I was born on Friday the 13th, and I was lying. But now it says Friday the 13th. So let's see, what do? I just either say, okay, I guess I was wrong, or stick to my, I'm telling you. I would rather just say I was wrong. It turns out I'm a really special person. I was born on Friday the 13th the whole time. Great. Don't you understand where this goes? No matter which perspective you take, either I am a regular person who has done absolutely extraordinary things, and no one has given me a chance to explain myself. No one gives me a break. No one says, you know what, maybe this guy is under so much stress, so much pressure, so many issues. He is being abused all the time. Maybe we should just give him a little break. That never happens. And then there's the other perspective, is that I come from an alternate timeline where I express to everyone, please, do not allow the fact that I am telling you the best I can. Well, I'm telling you in the best way I can that I am just a regular person who has very strong associations with the federal government, to a point where I have done the best I could to explain, hey, I totally get it, okay? If one of my close friends or family members ever came to me and said, hey, like, let's use time traveler. I'm not a time traveler, okay? But let's say someone said, you know, I came back from a future or whatever. You know what I would do? I would offer them a hot cup of tea and say, hey, let's talk. I would listen to what they have to say. You know why? Because how fucking amazing would it be if what this person is telling is the truth? What motivation would I have to disprove? I'm not in the medical field. I'm not in mental health. I do not believe in locking people up, especially when they are not of danger to themselves or others. So, for example, if you believe that I'm a human being who is not telling the truth, how would putting me in a mental institution ever derive the end goal, which is to express the truth publicly or have me recant what I'm saying? I can't recant because what I'm saying is not only true. Given the way people have acted over the last few years, I believe that I am more than justified in my actions. So, for example, check it out, all right? All of you watch me kind of slowly lose my mind on YouTube. I didn't slowly lose my mind. I'm a victim of one of the sickest gaslighting conspiracies in the history of gaslighting, YouTube, and God knows what. My wife and her family invented a series of circumstances to get me really, really upset, and then ran to anyone they can get to listen and say, look at how crazy he is. Look at how crazy he's acting. If you're a father or mother and you're out there and you have your ex plant drugs on you, which is not what happened to me, but it might as well. They plant drugs on you, you get arrested to lose your kids. Well, the trial's going to take 6 months. And you can go to trial, you could lose trial, then you never see your kids. You see, that's the kind of circumstances that I have to deal with. They're not as extreme, and there's no drugs involved. But the truth is, my wife and Jared Resnick lied to the courts, invented a completely bogus story, and a judge who has no mental health experience, she is not a licensed professional, decided upon herself to take away our children and then take away our homes and put us through impossible circumstances in order to get them back. And they continue to send us harassing emails, disgusting court orders that are not true, and completely flagrant reminders of how violating their orders are. For example, this horrible attorney, Jamie Berger, that Jamie has as her adversary, I don't even know how to say it. This woman sends the most disgusting, illegal, and unprofessional emails imaginable, which, don't worry, I will publicly show via website when this whole thing is over. See, I'm going to wait until this whole thing is over, because with every email, with every silent day that passes, it just shows that I was right about everything, and that I should have been a lot more aggressive in my litigation, my filings, and everything a long time ago, because my wife is completely psychotic. She does not stop. Last night, she sent me the most insane series of text messages pretending to be Pierce. And the Child Protective Services of Essex County is completely useless. Honestly, completely useless. And I'll tell you why. Because unless you're a crackhead or you're married to a crackhead that hurts or beats their children, the Essex County prosecutor's office, but the Essex County Child Protective Service is completely incompetent. They have zero experience in dealing with affluent families who are going through psychological imbalances, which is what's happening in my house. And rather than addressing the reality that they are ignoring that I am a male victim of domestic violence, and they are paying money for the actual aggressor in the domestic violence situation. And this is a true story and a fact. Can you imagine if I was a guy that beat his wife, and because I had enough money, I kicked her out of the house, and I get money from Child Protective Services? And that's because we live in a society of all these horrible democratic liberals. And I say this because the liberal community should be the first one to step forward and say, hey, this man is a male victim of domestic violence. We believe in equality. We believe in the right. But no, Mickey Sherrill actually supports it. Judge Matos Wilson, female. Judge Cacciola, female. Judge Salas, female. Judge Adubato, female. I mean, literally every single judge is a female that I have an issue with, except Josh Levine, who's more of a female, is a straight bitch. And I say that because I am covered by the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment and the 14th Amendment, but ultimately it's the Whistleblower Protection Act. You see, the Whistleblower Protection Act allows me to publish content which I know for a fact is in line with me exposing criminal activity to the American public, which is my responsibility and my God-given right as an American citizen. And one thing also you need to remember is that I don't go out of my way to just film YouTube content that's, defamatory. This man, Judge Levine, he is a horrible human being and a horrible judge. He's actually incompetent, so he will not get any work as an attorney when he's removed from the bench. He's a Caldwell municipal judge. Listen to this. The only reason I even know who this guy is because my judge, Judge Will Williams, shit the money bed so fucking bad that he doesn't even know how to talk to me. He just yells, so I don't even see him. I got to go to this other town next door for this clown show. You see, Josh Levine told the officer to assault me, throw me out of court. The officer grabbed me, threw me. I tripped. I almost hurt myself. And all of that is being suppressed. Now, the real question is, how on earth do these people get away with it? And it's really simple. You see, Judge Levine knows Judge Matos Wilson very well from Caldwell, and Judge Fest, which is where all the judges hang out, is somewhere in Caldwell as well. And that's where, Tom Scrivo comes in, and the reality of the fact that they don't care about political affiliation as long as their slice of pie is protected. You see, the judges that are very close with these law firms make sure that the cases are heard first, the lawyers win, everyone gets along, and that's just the way it goes. I am exposing the whole thing. These human beings are such criminals, and they destroy lives, and they basically, well, the judge said it, so, what are you going to do? This is just the way it goes. Welcome to America. That's not true. These judges are so corrupt. They are so in line. Like, for example, you've got a prosecutor, Ricardo Solano Jr., who is a white-collar prosecutor for Essex County and the state of New Jersey, Attorney General's office, who never one time investigated his buddy Bob Menendez. Then he goes to work for Gibbons, and he represents Wael Hannah, Bob Menendez's co-defendant. And the American public eats it up. They're totally okay with it. They're totally okay with it. The moral conflict, forget about the legal conflict, the moral conflict of a human being taking millions of dollars in taxpayer revenue, never doing their jobs, then going on to a much higher paying position by leveraging that position and getting away with it. But the worst part about it is Ricardo Solano Jr.'s wife, Jamie Hoxley Solano, contacted my wife when I filed kidnapping charges against her and represented her for free because I told you I am declaring war on the democratic power brokering machine. Never violent, always peaceful, and always through demonstrative means that are non-violent and do not hurt a single person. It is me versus every scumbag that is a lawyer, piece of shit cop, or a loser, completely incompetent judge. You could all go fuck yourselves. My name is Daniel M. Reeses. And if you think for a second that I do not represent the silent majority, then you're an idiot. You have gotten away with some of the worst, most egregious crimes in the history of the United States, all because you have diplomas stuck on your fucking walls, and you think that because I film a YouTube channel that is honest, transparent, passionate, and full of facts, that you can take my children away from me so I shut the fuck up? Let me tell you something. You obviously have no clue of who I am, and you have completely miscalculated this whole thing because none of you play chess. None of you know how to actually run a game, and none of you know anything about applied mathematics. And that is where you failed. Because everybody knows the lawyers are fucking horrible at math. That's why they lose their hair, that's why their dicks don't work, and that's why they don't get laid. Because they have to convince everybody of everything. And when you need to convince somebody that you're right, well, you're just a fucking idiot. And that's what I have to deal with. Human beings that are so wrong that they're silent. I challenge any of them in court, any day, anywhere, anytime. Obviously, no fighting, but I will tell you that a structured debate and a human being who cannot orate the facts in defense of their own position is not worthy. You have paid and you continue to pay these horrible, horrible oppressors. And I continue to mention names, but in general, there's a whole Rolodex of these fucking clowns. And these clowns have destroyed our society. We no longer progress. We no longer care about each other. We no longer live in a community. That is because we are all afraid of the big bad lawyer man suing us or exposing us or Karening us. Ladies and gentlemen, grow a set. If you don't have the ability to stand up against what's wrong in our society like I do, then please get the fuck out of my way. And if you want to have your friends subscribe, that's amazing. Obviously, I don't give a shit. And my shorts are pretty fucking cool. And I love the fact that I get to show everyone the various facets of who I am. That I do all that stuff on top of saving the country and being a great dad. And that's why my wife doesn't allow me to see my kids. Not because I'm a bad dad, because I make her look like a blurry line. Her bullshit, her stupid laughing at her own jokes because she's lame. And I'm a really cool fucking dad. And a really good dad is waiting for his boys with his arms wide open. Whether or not that happens today, tomorrow, when they become teenagers, or when they have free will and they realize what their mother, the courts, and the lawyers that their father-in-law paid for have done to them and their father. My father, Arcadia Reeses, had similar things happen to him, but it crushed him, it killed him. It definitely was very close to me. And maybe I look like him now because I've gained a couple of pounds, and maybe I sound like him a little bit because I'm very direct. But my name is Daniel M. Reeses. And anyone who has that confused can go fuck themselves, because I am preparing for the U.S. Supreme Court. I'm in a safe place, in a really good place, both mentally and physically. And for anyone that wants to laugh at me, please understand you're laughing at a human being who has done more for every single American citizen than anyone in the history of the U.S. existence. Mathematically speaking, I'm sure Martin Luther King, Neil Armstrong, or any of the Elon Musk billionaire boys clubs that you idolize, you think have done more. They haven't. They take exuberant amounts of money, and based on the amount of money they make, that's how you judge their performance. The other historical figures are isolated to one, maybe two incidences that have been glorified and magnified because it is in the best interest of the people that want to control you. I am the first real digital human being. The quantity of accomplishments that I have does make it very difficult to believe what I'm saying. I recognize that. But all that says is that you are not special and I am. And that's okay. I used to feel really bad about that. And I realized that the longer I feel bad about it, the less I can create. And when I create, when I really do what you want me to do, the world stops and listens. So on August 11th, I will start creating. I cannot work or do anything under the circumstances that I'm under. It is virtually impossible without my children in my life to be able to function, check email, work, earn money. I don't think anyone really comprehends this because they need to have a psychologist or someone that, other than myself, who has been through it and won in court, explain it to them. Because human beings are in straight denial that someone like myself, the antagonist or protagonist of the story, depending on how you want to see it, is not only at the heart of so many international or national narratives. I don't use international because I get made fun of about the whole Austin Powers thing. Groovy, baby, yeah. I like James Bond, but James Bond's not really good at math. And I'm not interested in like killing innocent people and then drinking scotch and crying about it. That whole narrative is really stupid because, like, as a professional, I don't know if I've ever like actually made a mistake, let alone have been responsible for hurting someone or someone dying. That's something like a lot of people don't really understand that. That's a high risk job. And I luckily I never did anything like that. I did advanced quant in real life. I get that there's a lot of fancy pants analysts, Goldman Sachs boys, and game theory experts that think trading and making money is game theory. It's not. It's not. Wrong. Anything that's associated with money is fully tainted in its perspective, and it's in its true definition. Money is the root of all evil. And when you take it into context to creativity and the greater good, it's extremely difficult to look and idolize human beings who are representing this incredible idolization of money, the US dollar, to the point where we are in a society where we're creating fake dollars. All those bitcoins and everything like that. I can't even express to anyone how dangerous it would be had it not been for a few very intelligent people that put the brakes on it. Stop. I want everyone to understand that the people that I'm going against not only have no facts, they're such liars that they can't do anything about any of the content that I post. Please remember that in the real world, if there was even one sentence that I said was defamatory slander, I could be held liable. I'm dealing with some of the most powerful law firms in the country. Wouldn't you think they would send me a cease and desist? But they can't, because then it would violate my constitutional right, especially if I have the facts that are behind it. And I do. Everything I talk about, I can prove 10 times over. That's the whole point. That's why I'm Dan Reeses, and my enemies are pieces of shit. And I think that it's important for everyone to really, really soak that in. My name is Dan Reeses. My enemies are human garbage. I have spent my entire life proving that I am an altruistic, good human being. I help everyone that I meet, from the lowliest grandmas that need assistance from a shopping cart to potential murderers in jail that I met that needed someone to communicate with and talk. Obviously, I did not give any legal advice or anything like that, but human beings that are suffering need help. I am not a person that will use the pain that I have inside of me as an excuse to avoid my responsibility. My responsibility as a leader of this society is to help, no matter what. I will not take bullshit from anyone, ever, in my entire life. And the only reason I got here is because I accepted bullshit, because I love my boys so much, and I was so afraid of this. Don't you see? Everything that I was afraid of actually transpired and came true. That doesn't mean that I'm crazy. That means that I'm very smart. It doesn't mean that I'm looking to hurt anyone. It looks like I am the victim of all of this shit. It doesn't mean that I went out of my way to throw my wife out of the house. It means that I couldn't handle a woman who takes millions of dollars of our personal possessions, runs out of the house telling me to go fuck myself, goes to another man's house after beating the shit out of me. And when I file for a restraining order because I'm so afraid of her coming back, she tells everyone I had her kicked out of the house. My boys think that had her kicked out of the house, and in reality, she was the one that went, lied to the judge, had me arrested on 6 different occasions. I spent 31 days in county jail. All the charges have been dismissed. And I want to tell everyone something really important. I'm going to wrap everything up by telling you something that you will not believe unless you actually see it. I swear to fucking God, I made a YouTube video where I posted a tile pic of my wife. We grew the craziest, my son grew the craziest cucumbers in the backyard. And my wife and I and my son, we had a lot of fun with them. And one of the pictures I posted, I was arrested for posting that picture. There was no due process. Don't worry, I will be suing and winning both Livingston Police and like them personally. Mulaney, Domanowski, these guys are getting sued personally. This is me saying on YouTube. I do the things I say. That's the difference between me and you guys. I was arrested. 2 days ago or yesterday, I saw Eric Adams post the same exact picture. So first, after this segment, I'm going to show you the picture that I posted, which I was arrested for. And then I'm going to show you the picture that Eric Adams, the mayor. And I want to tell everyone very clearly, you know why Eric Adams was not arrested and Dan Reeses was? Look me in the eyes. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to say what you don't believe I'm going to say. There's only one difference. Only one. Look closely at me. Look closely at Eric Adams. Can't figure it out? All right, let me help you. Eric Adams is a mayor, and I am the mayor. Daniel Mayor Reeses. Eric Adams, former mayor. Oh, wait. You guys thought I was going to say because he's black? Oh, that's right, because you're a bunch of racist, inbred hicks that only think about the worst, and you don't even recognize that it's a mayor reference. Mine is M-E-Y-E-R. That's M-A-Y-O-R. But we're both mayors that posted a picture. He's a former mayor. Hizana. Call me Harana or Piranha. I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm saying. No, I know what I'm saying. Look, if you can't understand that this is a trap, I'll explain. I post the picture, I get arrested again. You guys see that I'm being illegally arrested. It ties it all together. I would be surprised if the people that are arresting me are not arrested on the spot. I post the picture, I don't get arrested, and then the case is really horrible for them because I think that they're still trying to prove something, even though I've already beaten it in all facets of Supreme Court and everything imaginable. This is a U.S. constitutional issue. I have a First Amendment right to post the content that I took, that I do. It is not in violation of anything. It is not harassment in any way. And can you imagine if every single time Eminem made a song, every person that he offends contacts any platform and says, you know, I know Marshall Mathers, he's doing this and it's really hurting me. Well, of course they're not going to be heard because Eminem has a license to express himself. Dan Reeses has a stronger license because I don't take any money for what I do. Mine is purely artistic expression. For you to have violated my artistic expression means that you don't even know how to do your jobs as a cop. I see you. I do. I see all of you that are trying to disprove. Oh boy, I feel horrible for you. You see, I created a product they cannot disprove because it's all true. That's the secret to my magic trick. It's all true. The hardest part was spending 30 years keeping your mouth shut, filming the best content you can imagine, and actually doing the stories that you all love to listen to. My name is Dan Reeses, and most likely, I'm going to show those images at the very end of the video, so you got to watch the whole thing. Sorry. Oh, wait. Whoops. I did it again. I sound like a total tool, and I need to stop. The point of this is that sometimes you just have to say goodbye. And I have a hard time doing that. You know why? Because 43 is over, and 44 is just around the corner. I'm turning 44 in a couple of days, and I thought that I would take a few minutes to, or at least a minute, to express to everyone that my goal behind this video was to make one continuous 44-minute video without interruption, without editing, without notes, and to truly set the benchmark standard for what a 45-minute video should be when you want to express yourself and hit all points from beginning, middle, and end. Do not make yourself look like a clown. Do not put yourself down in a way that's derogatory to yourself, and be the man or woman that you want to be. My name is Daniel M. Reeses, and this is 44 minutes of my brain being released onto the American people. I don't know who else makes content like this, but please, ladies and gentlemen, keep it coming. And God bless America. Good evening. Ooh. Let me change this a little bit. So, one thing I want to talk to everyone about is, hey, I'm Dan. I'm doing the best I can to orate myself in a calm manner, but I am so upset. And instead of pretending to be someone I'm not, I thought that it would be best to just continue in the same line of thought that has gotten me here in a positive way. There are many of you who believe that what I'm doing is wrong, immoral, confusing, or just outright, I can't even, I wear the sunglasses because unfortunately I find myself crying every single day. And that is one of the smaller byproducts of having your children taken from you and being alienated from them and them being brainwashed. Unless you've experienced something like this, I don't think anyone can actually relate. And I don't even think anyone comprehends how difficult it is to get up here on stage and continue to film content, because I am only one person out of millions who are going through similar struggles, and they have no one to turn to. And I don't think anyone, in my opinion, of basic research has ever documented the pain, anguish, and torment that a father or a mother goes through when having been unlawfully separated from their children. Now, there are many people that like to laugh and say, oh, haha, he had his kids taken away. I'm not a drug addict. I didn't commit a single crime. I am a human being, as well as my assistant, who have been outspoken against the corruption and systemic fraud on behalf of the federal courts, especially Judge Esther Salas, Judge Jack Sherwood, and countless other attorneys like Richard Trank, Don Biase as a trustee, Anthony Sedano, Ricardo Solano Jr., Gibbons Law Firm, and I've lost count. Even the chief of police in the city of West Orange committed a massive series of crimes in order to enrich himself because he works for Richard Trank. Chief Abbott, I promise you. Now, when you're dealing with this much headache, it is virtually impossible to have anyone help you because they don't want to be involved in the minutia or the grandiose scale of, quote, your problems. Now, my problems are simply a byproduct of a man trying to stand up and say, hey, this is illegal, this is wrong, and I, as a business owner, can't continue to perform, because what is to say that something else won't be taken from me? How do I protect my interests? How do I launch microbank in a world where anyone could come in, stake claim to it, tie you up in litigation, steal your properties, and just simply get away with it? So I found that the only way to actually, and honestly, all that's on my mind is I had the most disturbing conversation with my son Pierce yesterday via text message. And I know it wasn't him. I know that my wife takes my kids' phones because he doesn't text me all day. And then at 11 o'clock, there's these series of insults. And it's the craziest shit. She says, look at yourself until you make some changes. Like, it's just crazy. I think that everyone needs to understand that this is a domestic violence abuser who has taken control over full custody of my children, all because of lies that she and her family have purported. She pretends like she is sad and some sort of a victim to my children, then turns around and goes to the court and is vicious in her lies, deceit, manipulation, and just sheer arrogance. Laughs at me, laughs at Jamie, continues to make fun of us. This is the biggest abuser you will ever see. She abuses children, literally children. She manipulates them into believing that I left the house. That is not true. I filed a restraining order on July 8th after my wife took millions of dollars of our personal property and ran away to somebody else's house and said, I want a divorce and I want you out of the house. And this is after assaulting me for years on end and manipulating and torturing, kidnapping my children. And I had enough. I didn't know if she was going to come back and hit me. I don't even know if she was going to come back and try to have sex with me. She is so insane that I filed a restraining order. And as a direct result, she was removed from the house temporarily until she was able to get a psychiatric evaluation as well as anger management. And instead of doing that, she went to the courts, invented a story about my knives, which are still out of my possession. I have a 6-figure knife collection that has been stolen from me and is in the possession of the Livingston Police Department. Mallory Blask Reeses, my ex-wife, had me arrested on 6 separate occasions with no due process or probable cause behind it, invented a series of lies that I'm on drugs and I have a mental illness, gaslit me, then when I was upset said, look at the way he acts, and continued to do this to a point where she even found an attorney, or the attorney found her, this woman, Jamie Hoxley Solano, to literally sued Jamie Resnick for nothing. And they got their asses handed to them because they're shitty lawyers and they have no case, and this will continue to happen. So now, without further ado, I want everyone to recognize what I'm about to tell you. Over the course of today, I will spend a series of probably around 5 to 6 hours working on one very important federal motion. This motion, I will tell you exactly what it is, and I will express to the entire audience what I will be filing. The filing will be done tonight at around 7 or 8 o'clock, at which point, at the same time the filing is being done, the video will be released. This allows the United States people to understand I normally don't show how the sausages are made, but in this instance, I believe that we've gone to the end of the road, and this is the final federal order that I will demand from Judge Salas. If anyone's not paying attention, Judge Esther Salas has completely ruined my life. She is part of a group of Hispanic American women, including Lauren Matos, Judge Matos Wilson, Judge Cacciola, Judge, I don't even, countless female Hispanic attorneys who purport themselves to be doers of good, but in reality they destroy families, they destroy lives, they pump hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer funded money to programs that are in their own benefit. These women are very close to Bob Menendez. They helped him continue to get reelected, and they were the women that were able to suppress his sex crimes. Yes, Bob Menendez is a sex criminal. His sex crimes, as well as over 30 years of fraud. Bob Menendez was instrumental in getting Judge Esther Salas her bench seat. And when Judge Esther Salas, I don't even know what's going on with her kid, whether or not it actually happened or not, I have no idea. But Roy Den Hollander did not kill both people. That I know for a fact at this point. What I'm trying to express to everyone is that out of the 20 judges in federal court, I was randomly assigned the judge that I am talking about on YouTube as being connected to Bob Menendez. I don't know if anyone's actually paying attention to what I'm saying, or like how corrupt, flagrant, blatant, and insane it is. But this woman, when I filed my litigation against my wife and an emergency order to see my children, who I haven't seen in over a year, she ignored it. This woman claims that her son was shot, and she ignored me, Daniel, not seeing my children for a year, and did not think it was an emergent matter. Just didn't. Talked about the smoker, talked about some shit. Now, what you're about to see is the end. This is the name of this video is called Game Over. At the end of the video, or somewhere, I'll throw a bunch of shit that I filmed that I'm not too content with, but it is game over. Game, set, match. Whatever sports, chess, poker, whatever metaphor you want to use for it, this is the end. And over the course of today, as I produce the motion and as I show you everyone that this motion is the pierce, this will get to the heart of the matter, and I assure you, this is the end of Judge Esther Salas's career. If you don't believe me, please just stick around. Now, Judge Esther Salas is a federal judge. She had her eyes on the Senate seat that her best friend Bob Menendez gave up, but unfortunately, because of me, and calling her out as something called a Manchurian candidate. And by the way, so is Mickey Sherrill, the governor of New Jersey. And I've been trying to tell you this for about 4 or 5 years on YouTube. And the fact that the state elected such a corrupt and useless individual who does nothing but tout herself as an anti-Trump advocate. Look, when a human being's entire agenda is to go against another human being, I assure you, this person is not here to do good. This person is here to drive their own agenda, and they're catering to the negative sentiments of their constituents who are not actually their constituents. They're just the opposite of the current regime's constituents. That being said, The Manchurian Candidate is a really good movie, and then it was remade again with Denzel Washington and Liev Schreiber. And essentially what they really pinpointed, there's another version of it called The Contender, which is even better. The point of all of this is that the Manchurian Candidate is a fabricated candidate that has a fake background. Mickey Sherrill cannot fly a helicopter, or definitely not in battle. And I don't know who her husband is. He pretty much is out of the spotlight completely, so I'm sure there's some interesting thing there. And I think that when a human being like her touts herself as a Democrat, female, and a champion of good, and she knows that I'm a victim of domestic violence, and she fully supports the female, I think that the American public needs to know that this woman cannot ever be an elected official based just on the way she has treated my case and Jamie's case. Don't forget, Jamie's a female also. She had her children taken away for no reason whatsoever except her husband, Jared Resnick, who is a barred licensed attorney in the state of New Jersey, lied. Now, all this gossip and rumors and all that stuff, none of it is rumors and none of it is gossip. Everything that I say here, I want to remind everyone that we live in the United States. The people that I'm making these claims against are very powerful individuals with deep pockets and heavy, heavy resources. If what I was saying was not true, I would get something called a cease and desist letter. Now, that letter is a two-way sword. Double-edged sword, sorry. The reason why it's a double-edged sword is because anyone who sends that letter knowingly, knowing that what I'm saying is true, is 100% guilty of harassment, as well as a slew of other laws such as whistleblower protection and other federal laws that are designed to protect my freedom of speech, to allow me to disclose the true nature of the crimes committed by the state actors. For anyone that doesn't understand, a state actor is not an actual actor. It is just a legal word for someone who is employed by the state and is engaged in unlawful criminal activity, such as Myrna Drace Perez, one of the lead prosecutors in the Essex County Prosecutor's Office. This woman is one of the female Hispanic Essex County authoritative figures, and she took it upon herself to literally sign off on 8 unlawful arrest warrants for me without any probable cause, knowing what she is doing, and continuously having an innocent father arrested, all because I'm a man and I'm a victim of domestic violence, and I put their best friend Bob Menendez in prison. And that's how corrupt New Jersey is. And everyone is watching this right now and wondering, what kind of emotion will Daniel submit? Well, if you know anything about game theory and chess, you will know that I need to create something called an infinite paradox, something that cannot be broken, something that will show, hey, this is a 1 and a 1. Complete, full, autonomous, legal, balance. Boom. Gotta go work. Love you, boys. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. How are you? My name is Daniel Reeses, and if you're watching this, then I want to thank you. I want to jump into all the subject matters, and I want to remind everyone that filming public content during an extremely stressful time in your life is not only very difficult, but I have tried the best I can to express to everyone that this is a very strong form of therapy. Over the course of the last week or so, I met some new friends. Over the course of the last 20 years, I've made thousands of friends and lost a lot of them. I say this because most people are simply not able to be honest with looking in the mirror and recognizing that they are the makers of their own lives. The people that I meet, I choose not to express the sorrows and the sadness of my life, and every once in a while I'll say I'm going through a very serious separation. It automatically turns people off from the conversation, so I try to reset, and then I tell people, well, I ran the Rittenhouse trial, I put Bob Menendez in prison, I did all these amazing things, and then that sometimes turns people away also. Then I try to tell people that I'm an entrepreneur and I've done this and this and I'm doing this and this. And that turns a lot of people away. But when I say nothing and I just sit silently, I find that people accept me. And it's very, very sad because my name is Dan Reeses. And there are many people that want to sit silently in this world. I'm simply just not one of them. And if you believe that being silent in the face of crimes being committed against you, our society burning down, systemically dying slowly from within, and a very small minority of people are willing to stand up and communicate on behalf of the current state of our country without saying, oh, this country's going to shit, everything is horrible. No, this is a really amazing country. And there are some basic elements that can be corrected on a national level immediately, but that would require mass cooperation. We live in a world where you idolize gods like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos because of the money that they've created, because of the lack of awareness that they have for the everyday man, because we all want to escape the routine of the rudimentary bullshit of being locked into a life we don't want, because there's a job that we don't want, that we're completely just grinding away at and waiting for life to end. And we look at these men and sometimes women and we say to ourselves, well, this is a human being with blood just like mine, and they were able to accomplish it. It is the same reason as why we as human beings buy a lottery ticket for $700 million knowing we will never win. People that are unaware of how desperate humanity is to break their shackles call it the idiot tax. But the idiot tax affects all of us that are stuck in cycles that we don't want to be a part of. There are many people that are very, very happy. But when you look at the actual facts, at the end of the day, the only thing that I want anyone to know is that I am a dad. I am a dad that has truly lost his compass, but has regained his footing as a man. And I know you might not understand what I mean by that, but give me a chance. The point of this video is to start a series of audio, submissions, which truly are part evidence, part entertainment, part fact, part emotion, and part you. This channel exists only because you, the audience, is able to watch it and have a perception of it. My name is Daniel Reese. I'm the first digital human being. You will believe that I am crazy. You will not give me a chance, because the reality of understanding what I'm trying to say is far more than the majority of human being brains are willing to accept. We do not live in the Matrix, in my best opinion. And I could be wrong about that. I think that one of the funniest things about conversations that I have with people is that they believe that just because I know what I'm talking about, if they ask me a question and I do not have the full answer, that I'm wrong about what I'm talking about. And I think that it's just comical for me to watch human beings try to disprove what I have to say by asking me things that I don't have the answer for, watching me say, you know what, I don't know, or like give the wrong answer, which, believe it or not, as a human being, I'm allowed to give the wrong answer. And I think that I think that people don't understand that I don't lie, but at the same time, I could be wrong. I think that every human being should have a chance to be wrong, but I guess that makes me crazy, right? And I think that this video is really going to be focusing on 3 subject matters. It's going to be 1, obviously, the past, 2 is the present, 3 is the future, but in the expression of, well, what does it all mean? I would say number 1 is my boys, which is my only focus right now. And I think that many people that are watching this do not understand that this is the first time that a human being has recorded their anguish, their pain, and their complete and utter disbelief for a system that he relied on. That's me. I think that if you're watching this, please understand that Judge Esther Salas is a complete joke. She was the one that was assigned to my federal litigation against my wife. Surprise, surprise. This is a complete sham. She did not even address the fact that my children have not been in my life for over 380 days. This is just simply a complete disaster on the federal courts for, of all people, have Judge Esther Salas, who has destroyed my life through her relationship with Bob Menendez, and Judge Matos, and I don't know if she's related to Laura Matos, but Lauren Matos, this woman is a major player in the political landscape of things, and she was the one that nominated Judge Esther Salas to replace Bob Menendez. I swear to God, Judge Esther Salas is completely incompetent if she's even a real human being. She has avoided me for 4 years. She has dismissed cases without any logical reason whatsoever, and she has found deficiencies. I swear to fucking God, if you're a human being that's watching this, I've had my children kidnapped and stolen from me, and I have to file a civil litigation to the woman, the judge, who presided over Teresa Giudice and Joe Giudice from Real Housewives. And this judge literally is the instrumental figure behind something called Daniel's Law, which protects all the judges from some weird non-existent threat. Nobody wants to hurt these women or even like date them, to tell you the truth. There's a group of Hispanic American lawyers turned political activists. They're all Democrats. You could look it up. I can't even express to you how insane it is. And they have infiltrated, and I say infiltrated is because I'm sure there's a lot of nice Hispanic American women out there, but these women like Judge Matos Wilson, Judge Salas, Judge Cacciola, who I don't even know if she's Hispanic. She's just a woman that's completely psychotic and ignored the U.S. Constitution. And the fact that no male judges are stepping forward and it's just me by myself having to calmly and coherently express the true nature of the anguish of any parent that is going through the pain of what these human beings have done. Judge Matos Wilson invented a series of circumstances to have my children taken from me. Judge Cacciola took my children away from me without any custody hearing, which is illegal. She also invented that I harassed my wife, which there's no evidence of whatsoever, in order to illegally create a restriction for me to post videos or images of my children. That's a First Amendment violation, and I will see her personally in court because I will be making sure that I sue the state of New Jersey, especially the Essex vicinage, of what they have done. They have committed some of the most egregious crimes you can possibly imagine, and they do this in the wake of knowing the buttons to press on a father to make them go crazy and do something. Well, I have news for everyone. My mental strength and my ability to orate myself far exceed the need for some sort of a vengeance plot, which doesn't exist. Judge Esther Salas invented a series of circumstances that surround the unfortunate death of her son. Whether or not he's dead or not, nobody even knows. And the fact that I threw out this truth of a conspiracy that I believe has some real explaining to do. And this woman not only sits on the bench, the federal litigation that I filed after accusing her of things that I know are true, she takes my case. And there's actually people that believe that this woman will do anything remotely legal when it comes to it. She already violated the law. The case hasn't even started. She completely ignored the entire part of the emergency motion that concerns my children and only addressed some random shit about a smoker. The fucking smoker? You guys are morons. I have 27 buildings currently in my portfolio. You think I give a fuck about the smoker? I want my stuff, all of it, everything from a screw that I've paid for to the smoker, to my buildings, to my children, and everything else. There are many people out there that have a lot of financial issues, and that sucks for them. I promise you, I don't have financial issues. I have assholes that are disguising themselves as lawyers and judges, pretending that they did not commit a crime against me and trying to do everything to keep me silent. That is a violation of the Whistleblower Protection Act. There are no laws that allow the people to do any of this. Now, before I go any further, I want everyone to take a breath. I mean myself, obviously. And this is what I'm talking about. A great example is watching me get really, really upset on YouTube because the subject matters that I'm discussing are simply so painful, so illegal, so flagrant, so blatant, and so unbelievable that if you were to ask anyone else who is going through this type of circumstances to be able to speak on camera, live, in front of the world, they not only would not be able to do it, they would choke with venom and toxicity that I feel inside of myself as a victim of alienation, domestic violence, sexual manipulation, sexual assault. I know, laugh at me all you want. Keep laughing. That's the whole point. That a man is not allowed to go through pain and discuss it publicly. They will be ridiculed. They will be laughed at. And they will be destroyed. And the whole point of why I want a separation from my wife is look at what she's doing now. Can you imagine if I waited another 10 years? Can you imagine? Everything that I've said is 100% true just based on the fact that I have no interest in harassing anyone, and my actions and my behavior has completely spoken for itself. Whereas my wife continues to alienate my children from me and me from my children. She continues to steal property. She continues to break the law. She continues to sell my property. And she continues to go forward with making me homeless. And I think that when you look at a human being who I've done so much for, and I've given her millions of dollars, she's sitting on a very expensive jewelry collection, and she is just unbelievable in her inability to understand that our boys will grow up. They will have a choice, and they will say, Mom, thanks for kidnapping me from our father, because I am their father. Or they will say, Mom, like, don't ever talk to me ever again. Because the truth is that what she has done is she has lied, manipulated, and tortured their souls. And if they're okay with something like that, then there's a reason why these laws exist for alienation, is so that women like my wife can't do the things that she's going to do to the children, or she already has done. This is a very sick, psychologically broken human being that is given permission to be the custodian of children that are going to be permanently scarred. I know you don't want to hear this, but my wife permanently scarred me. She was so abusive. She is so psychotic and manipulative. And no one wants to hear that this is all true. No one wants to hear the reality of how painful she and my father-in-law and the rest of her family truly are, both to each other, themselves, and God forbid if there's an outsider that shines. My children will see this when it's a little too late, when they find themselves filled with the same anger, confusion, and stupidity that the rest of the Blask family has. Their father, I, right here, am doing the best I can to express to everyone that once the alienation process has started, and once a human being gets an ex parte order, they will immediately have an advantage to the children's opinions. That's why I know that the Child Protective Services is a bunch of fucking morons. And that's me on YouTube saying that DIFUS or whatever the fuck they have in Essex County, not only are they morons, they don't even have the psychological education, or education in psychology, to understand what alienation and the removal of a father from the children's lives and how it's actually child abuse. That's the point, because they're dealing with some people, they're dealing with crackheads that are abusing children. Children are walking around not eating for days. And that standard has destroyed their ability to not only think outside the box. It's the same reason why law enforcement looks at white-collar crime and goes, you got to get a lawyer. This is a civil matter. You got to get a lawyer. That's what they sound like to me. Like, you got to get a lawyer. Like the guys in Greenwich, it's a civil matter. I'm like, hey, listen, here's the laws that are Livingston, New Jersey. Oh, it's a civil matter. My wife walks in. Oh, yeah, we're going to arrest him. Fuck yeah, him and his assistant, we're going to get him. You guys have no idea what I have to deal with. And I deal with it with a smile on, because I do tout myself as the most resilient, level-headed, given the circumstances, and strong-minded leader that you will ever meet. And now I will go into, I guess I'm a triple Leo this year in astrology. Fun fact. Let's see what else is there. Perry Mason. I have to watch that in order to clear my brain of the amount that's going on. And truly, like, gaslighting is the core issue that people are not really understanding, that I will inevitably be able to prove that my circumstances of the way that I've been acting over the last few years of my marriage, as well as even the last year of filming content, is directly related to the pain anguish and torture my wife and her family have caused upon me. And whether or not my children care about this or not, that's just simply a matter of time that I will see, because in time I will see if my children do not recognize their father as an equal part, and that's what their mother has done. That's the entire point of kidnapping and alienation, and why the federal courts have completely failed. The Essex vicinage courts, everyone should be fired that has anything to do with this case. Judge Matos Wilson will be going to federal prison, as I've said so many times. Judge Cacciola will be brought up on actual charges, and Judge Esther Salas is going to federal prison. That's 1,000%. She can join her boyfriend Bob Menendez. And Judge Salas, one thing you need to understand about Judge Salas is I still do not know if she's a real person. It's been 4 years, and she's hiding because she invents, she's a complete psychopath, so she only a psychopath will believe a human being who has no interest in harming them wants to harm them. And she created these laws because, she obviously was supposed to run for first Senate and then presidential candidate, the first Latina. And I do the quotes because these are American women who wear a badge as some sort of a cultural bias of the fact that they're Spanish. That's it, Spanish. I think we live in the kind of society where casinos can have a game on the gaming floor called Spanish 21. It's like Jewish no. And I think the casino companies, because they make so much profit, these women would never go after a casino company and say, hey man, get rid of a game called Spanish 21. But they're totally okay with human beings like Bob Menendez going to prison and replacing Bob Menendez with the same version of Bob Menendez. Judge Esther Salas has been friends with Bob Menendez since she was in high school as a cheerleader. This clown, Bob Menendez, I need to make a completely separate video to express to everyone a timeline of what I had to do. He was arrested, and the raid happened in June 2022. He was going to get away with it. I know that you don't believe it, but the charges didn't even come down for 18 months later. That doesn't even remotely make sense. He cast over 467 votes in the Senate. No one in the media is reporting on this, obviously. Please understand that these are the most important, largest actual facts of corruption in the history of the United States coming forward on YouTube, and nobody cares. We don't live in a society where human beings can digest the fact that, yes, the same guy who's dealing with a very nasty divorce, who's dealing with the fact that he's done so much for this country and it's all being ignored, whitewashed, and suppressed. And at the same time, I'm still plowing forward, and I'm still going to release a series of videos that express the true nature of how difficult it is to do my job that would help millions of human beings, because a small dozen or so individuals are benefiting so greatly from the pain that I'm in. And it is so fucked up that in Livingston, New Jersey, there's a group of people that are supporting this pain because they're so jealous of a self-made, handsome guy that they want to hurt me. Please understand, you can't actually hurt me. You could either kill me or I will rise to the top, as always. And I always thought it would be really cool to create content that shows the ascension. And I will start on August 11th. And on August 13th is my birthday. My wife's birthday is August 15th, ex-wife. Forget about this titles, okay? Wife, ex-wife, mother of my kids. I never thought I'd be that guy that says, the mother of my kids. Now I'm going to say, hey, the mother of my kids. I'm that guy, I guess, I don't think anyone has any fucking clue of how difficult it is to film this content, given the circumstances that I'm in and the fact that I haven't lied one time on YouTube. And maybe I've made a mistake, and maybe I've forgotten something or a fact that I left out, but I've done the best I can to film thousands of videos and thousands of hours of unedited content. The people that are going against me can't even post one Instagram or YouTube video to say a single word back, because everything I'm saying is true. I don't need you to believe me. I recognize that the more I speak about the facts of everything that's going on as a true statement or sentiment to the truth that I believe, the less people are inclined to give a shit or believe me. So now I say, fuck it. You don't need to believe anything I say. If you truly believe that a human being who has the ability to orate himself, so far we're going on 22 minutes. I haven't taken a break. I've taken 2 to 3 sips of water. I'm going to take my 4th one. And all I've done is written a basic outline for the facts of this video. This video had no preparation except for 7 hours that I kept running it through in my head, memorizing it. And please understand that in order to make true YouTube real content, you have to work really, really hard. I work really hard on everything I do. Human beings who work really hard on everything they do tend to not lie in the face of being challenged, because not telling the truth, omitting facts, or lying, whichever way you want to put it, will only take away from the hard work and dedication that human beings like myself put into things, which is why we tend not to lie as a generality. If you believe that you have caught me in a lie or I'm bullshitting in some way, ask yourself, what is my motivation for this? I do not make money for anything I do. Clearly, my entire world has flushed me down the toilet and rejected me because of this content. And I still produce it, and I still make it. And you might ask why. And I will very clearly tell you the answer. Evidence, recording real-time emotion at the time while it's happening is an extremely important thing that most people either overlook or simply don't have the strength to do it. When asked, why do I continue to film? My answer would be very simple. Why not? I give my love, my heart, my dedication, my commitment, my effort, everything to the audience, my children, and I leave nothing for myself. I thought that it would be a really good idea to truly express the pain and the pleasure, the sour and the sweet, the full balance of life, a bouquet of emotions that will only come out at the worst time in a human being's life. The good times will definitely come. But who are you when the chips are down? Who are you when all shit has hit the fan? And who are you when you look in the mirror after the decisions you've made have caused people to be uncomfortable? I looked in the mirror, and what I found is a good man who did the best he could, and he needs to forgive himself. And that's what I'm doing, because I can't move on from the reality that people have lied so much that they have ruined my children's lives as a way to try to silence me from what they have done. My name is Daniel M. Rhesus, and I cannot be a father and be a coward at the same time. So excuse me to everyone who wants to judge a man who judges himself the harshest. Goodbye.